So this is how to enable overlays using Twitch channel point redemptions. If you hit redeem, this is fine. You know what, if you do a good job, you can give yourself a pat on the head. For this, we're going to need streamer bots, and I'll also leave the overlay I've made in the description, so you can go grab it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new scene, just called overlays, or whatever you want to call it, but I'm going to call it overlays. Essentially, by creating a new scene means we can add this scene on top of any other scene, and the trigger will work for every scene. So video is imported. I'm going to hit loop on it. So it loops forever. It's a perfect loop video, so it'll look fine. Now let's just import it onto one of our scenes so we can see it in action. Add, scene, overlays. So now the overlay is on top of the camera, so it works, but it's not keyed out. We'll turn on studio mode just so we can see what we're doing. Right click on the video, hit filters. We're gonna add an effect. We're going to add a luma key, and this is just keying out different brightness thresholds. Straight away, you can see it's worked. It's a little bit jank around these edges, so what we can do is we can smooth out the blacks a bit, smooth out the highlights as well, which is what I like to do. Okay, so now that's looking all good. I'm going to exit studio mode, but I want to add a little bit of polish here. Back in the overlays, when it's appearing and disappearing, I want it to have a nice effect. So I'm just going to right click this, show transform. You can choose between all these different transitions. I'm gonna go for, should we say a luma white? And we'll do a vertical white. You can preview this transition. You need to invert it so it's going bottom up. And let's just increase the softness a bit. Let's preview this transition again. And we'll do the same. For the height transform, go to a luma white. And again, let's put this to 0.5. Change it back to vertical. You see it's on, turning it off. Nice little fade, turning it back on, fade back in. Okay, so now that's all set up. I'll also go into our gameplay scene. I'll add in scene, add in the overlays. So now you can see it's working on both our just camera scene and our gameplay scene. It'll work across anything we put that scene on top of. So now that's all done, we can turn off this overlay. Okay, so the next step is setting up streamer bots. So what we're gonna do in here is go to stream apps. We're gonna right click, add, and we'll type in OBS here. And now depending on the version of OBS you're on, if on OBS 28 or later, we can change this to version 5. Host and port you can probably leave as is, unless you've changed it. Now the way we can check that is if we go into our OBS, go into tools, and go into OBS WebSocket settings. We'll see here, we have the server port that's set as default, that's fine. We can also set our password here if we hit enable authentication. I'm not gonna bother with that, but make sure you have enable WebSocket server turned on. Make sure that's enabled, hit apply, all good. And back into StreamerBot, we can just tick on auto connect on startup and reconnect on disconnect, hit OK. That should be working. If we right click, hit connect, we'll see we are connected. Okay, so now we need to make an action that tells the overlay to enable itself, wait a bit, and then turn the video back off. So we're gonna go into actions, we're gonna right click, hit add. Here, we'll just call this fire, leave everything else as is, hit OK. In sub actions, we're gonna right click here, hit add sub action, go all the way down to OBS, and then set source visibility state. And now in here, we'll go to our scene, overlays, and we have our video selected. Hit visible, and now add sub action delay, and here we can decide how long we want it to turn on for. Because it's an endless loop and it will just go on forever as long as we need, this can be any duration. I'm gonna make it go for about 10 seconds, and we can do random here, and this will do a random interval between the first time and the second time. So between 10 and 30 seconds, sure. And then I'm just going to copy this source visibility state, copy, paste, and this time set it to hidden. So now our action is set up. We need to have the trigger. So for this one, we're going to do a Twitch channel point reward trigger. So first off, go into platforms, go into Twitch, make sure your account is connected, which mine is not. Bam, easy, done. Close that. So back into the channel points reward tab, you can see I've already got a lot of things in here from my own stream. But if we're adding new one, right click, add, we'll call this fire. You can change the cost here. I'll just leave it as 1 for the sake of this demo. And there's a bunch more settings, but what we need to look at here is action and select our action that we just made. Select fire. Okay. Okay, that should all be working. Right, so now if I go into my Twitch chat and I go into my rewards thing, we'll see we've created a new reward here called Fire. So if I click this, hit redeem, bada bing, bada boom.